Mayor Eric Adams has positioned his administration as one that will cut red tape and, in his words, roll out the red carpet for development. But it wasn't until September that he put those words into action. He publicly supported the proposed rezoning of Throgs Neck in the Bronx. His support and other recent developments could signal a shift in how affordable housing and other issues are approached by city officials. Earlier this month, Councilmember Marjorie Velasquez announced that she struck a deal with developers seeking to upzone a portion of Throgs Neck. Joe, can you talk to us a little bit about how that deal came together?
Yeah, so this one was a real nail biter the whole time. It started back in July of 2021 when some local businessmen got together and decided to upzone some parcels of land that they held along Bruckner Boulevard, which is a major thoroughfare in this Throgs Neck neighborhood. And none of these developments were really groundbreaking. Like, the tallest one was 8 stories. But in Throgs Neck, that was a really big deal because this is an area that was downzoned under Mayor Bloomberg's administration. As you won't be surprised to hear if you followed any of these rezoning proposals in the past, the residents kind of went berserk. There was a lot of pushback to this plan almost immediately. Councilmember Velasquez had to actually skip a public meeting on the proposal because she cited, threats against her physical safety. There was name calling at rallies. Someone sprayed one of the speakers with their hose. Politically, it also really divided the district. But I think the consensus was just that this is a district that since 2014 had produced only 58 units of affordable housing, one of the lowest in the city. And part of the mayor's whole City of Yes initiative is that, as opposed to previous administrations where the approach was to go neighborhood by neighborhood, he seems to want the entire city to take on that pressure to build more housing. So that starts even in neighborhoods like Throgs Neck, where it's more suburban, less of a dense city feel. Marjorie Velasquez was still non-committal. Her 3 main sticking points were affordability levels, union jobs, and infrastructure. Finally, a deal was struck recently, and while the exact terms still haven't been released, so what we do know is that there will be 348 apartments in total. 166 of them might be affordable, up to 166. And we know that there will at least be one 99-unit fully affordable development for seniors.
Do you think the mayor's intervention in that project signals a willingness to intervene in future projects, or do you think that that was just sort of a one-off?
I definitely think so. I think, the mayor's realizing he has this bully pulpit. He has to use it if he wants to get to this commitment. I mean, he said he wanted, I think it was 30,000 affordable units a year, which is, a really ambitious goal, and you're not going to get there by downzoning and by, cutting units from buildings, reducing density. It just won't work. We already saw this again when he came out in favor of Innovation Queens, which I know we'll talk about later. But that's a $2 billion mega development in Astoria that he said he supports.
What are sort of the main points of contention in that project?
Right. So Innovation Queens is an interesting foil to the Throgs Neck rezoning because it's sort of the opposite side of these rezoning battles. Like, on the one hand, you often have, wealthier neighborhoods that don't want poorer residents coming in. They don't want their quality of life changed. And then in Innovation Queens, this is Astoria. It's a working class immigrant neighborhood, multilingual, and there's a lot of concern about displacement, rising rents, gentrification. I think the number one issue is affordability. And we've seen it develop where originally 25% of the units were going to be, rent below market rate. The developers offered to up that to 40%, using some city subsidy. And then, the council member actually came out and said, well, no, you can afford to pay for that extra 15%. So now I won't accept anything less than 55%. You pay for the 40%, and then you can get city subsidy for the other 15% of affordable units. I went and attended one of the rallies against this project a couple weeks ago at City Hall. And there was a lot of concern, especially among residents, about the fact that this was Silverstein coming in, and that it was, there were a lot of signs that said, this is a billionaire developer. He can afford to give us deeper affordability on this project. So it's this battle where, the local community understandably is saying this is a developer with very deep pockets. They should give us more. And the developer is sort of saying, well, That's not really how real estate development works. And I think they've also seen what's happened in similar neighborhoods in Brooklyn. They're very close to Long Island City, which has seen a ton of development recently. So I think there's just a lot of fear about, a project that is out of context, that will raise their rents, that will push them out.
Do you think that because local council members still not signed on to this, do you think this project could test the tradition of member deference in the city council?
It's possible. We saw during the Throgs Neck rezoning, there were some rumblings that the council might buck member deference to approve that rezoning over Velasquez if she went against it. And I think in that situation, it was such a small project relative to something like Innovation Queens, which is a $2 billion project, 2,800 apartments, that I think it was almost like, they were like, okay, it's so ridiculous, we have to approve this. Whereas with Innovation Queens, I think it would be a much tougher battle.
Councilmember Tiffany Caban approved the Hallett's Point project, and it was viewed as a seismic shift in how far-left politicians approach affordable housing projects. Do you think that decision has already started influencing other politicians or just the discussions around affordable housing?
Yeah, I think we've seen, politicians across the board, but, especially on the progressive side, start to engage in the, thinking about the trade-offs a little bit more of these rezonings. We saw Caban basically say, if Hallett's North is not approved, then this is going to become, a warehouse or a truck depot, I forget which. And she basically said, look, this isn't perfect. And she's been very clear. She still supports, massive increases in funding for social housing, for 100% affordability, community land trusts. But she basically said, 25% of these units are going to be affordable. That's better than nothing.